Her voice cut through the room like glass. I was 5 feet away holding a wrench and she said it like I wasn't even there. "He's useless now," Tina told our daughter. "Your father isn't a real man anymore. He just hides in that garage all day doing nothing." I heard our son laugh. Not a nervous laugh, a real one. Like it was funny. Like I was the punchline to some joke I didn't understand. Tina didn't even flinch when I walked into view. She just looked at me with those cold eyes, the ones I'd been seeing more and more lately. Then she turned back to her phone, scrolling like nothing had happened. I stood there for 3 seconds. Maybe 4. My chest felt tight, but I didn't say a word. What could I say that would matter anymore? So I turned around and walked back to the garage. The wrench was still in my hand, warm from my grip. Behind me, I heard my daughter ask, "Is Dad really not trying?" Tina's answer was quick. "He gave up a long time ago, sweetie." I closed the garage door behind me. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel broken. I felt focused. My name is Mark Sullivan. I'm 41 years old, and 18 months ago, I was a mechanical engineer at Vertex Systems. I designed industrial machinery, turbines, hydraulic systems, precision tools. I was good at it. Really good. Then the company downsized. Budget cuts, they said. Nothing personal. Just numbers on a spreadsheet. I got the call on a Tuesday morning. By Friday I was cleaning out my desk. 20 years of experience, gone in 3 days. At first Tina was supportive. She hugged me, told me we'd figure it out together. But weeks turned into months and the interviews led nowhere. Companies wanted younger engineers, cheaper labor, people who didn't ask questions. So I stopped applying. Not because I gave up, but because I had a different plan. I started working in the garage. Every single day. Early mornings, late nights, weekends. I told Tina I was tinkering, and she believed me. She stopped asking what I was doing after the first month. Nobody in my family ever cared to ask. Not once. They assumed I was broken, defeated, lost. But I wasn't lost. I was building something they couldn't even imagine. Tina wasn't always like this. She used to believe in me. When we first got married, she'd brag about my projects to her friends. She'd bring me coffee in the garage and ask about blueprints she didn't understand. But after the layoff, something shifted. It wasn't sudden, it was 1,000 small cold shoulders. She started talking over me at dinner. When I'd mention an idea, she'd change the subject. When her friends came over, she'd make jokes about me, finally having time to fix things around the house. Everyone would laugh. I'd smile along. Then she started comparing me to other husbands. Her friend Sarah's husband got promoted. Her coworker Janet's husband bought a new car. And her boss, she talked about him a lot. How smart he was. How driven. How successful. She spent more time on her phone. Started going out more. Networking events, she called them. She'd come home late, smelling like wine and expensive cologne. I noticed everything. But I said nothing. Because saying something meant admitting what I already knew. So I just kept working. In the garage. Alone. "He hides in the garage all day," Tina said into her phone. She was in the kitchen talking to someone on speaker. She didn't realize I was right outside the door. "I swear he's probably just watching YouTube tutorials or something. I don't even know anymore. He won't talk to me." Her friend's voice crackled through. "Have you thought about, leaving?" Tina paused. "I've thought about it. But I want to make sure I'm set first. I'm not going to struggle because of him." I stood there frozen. My hand was on the doorframe, but I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Then she laughed. "Honestly, I should have married someone like Richard. He's got his life together." Richard. Her boss. The name I'd been hearing for months. I backed away slowly, my shoes silent on the concrete. I went back to the garage, closed the door and locked it. Then I turned to the workbench. The prototype sat there, half assembled, wires exposed, metal gleaming under the fluorescent light. If hiding means building something no one else believed in, then yeah, I was hiding. And I wasn't stopping now. It started as an idea in a notebook. A sketch. A theory. I'd been thinking about it for years. An efficient, modular power generator. Something portable, scalable, clean. The kind of tech that could change how small businesses and remote areas accessed energy. After I lost my job, I had time. And anger. And focus. I used my severance to buy materials. I reached out to 2 freelance engineers I trusted, people I'd worked with before. We signed NDAs. Kept everything quiet. No social media. No loose talk. We met in my garage 3 times a week. Late at night after Tina went to bed. She never noticed the cars parked down the street. By month 6 we had a working prototype. By month 9 we'd filed 3 patents. By month 12, a mid-sized renewable tech firm wanted to license the design. They offered me $50,000 up front. Royalties on every unit sold. I signed the deal in a coffee shop, alone. Didn't tell anyone. Not Tina. Not the kids. Not even my parents. This wasn't a hobby. This was my comeback. And I wasn't ready to share it yet. My daughter's name is Emma. She's 10 years old and she used to look at me like I was a hero. Now she looks at me like I'm a stranger. One morning she asked me over cereal, "Dad, are you really trying to get a job?" I stopped chewing. "Why do you ask?" She shrugged, stirring her spoon. "Mom says you're not. She says you gave up." Something broke inside me. Not loud like glass. Quiet like a crack in ice. I wanted to explain. I wanted to tell her everything, the prototype, the patents, the deal. But I couldn't. Not yet. So I just said, "I'm trying, sweetheart. I promise." She nodded, but she didn't believe me. I could see it in her eyes. That night, I worked until 3 in the morning. Every bolt I tightened, every wire I soldered, I thought about Emma. About my son Jake, who stopped asking me to throw the football. About Tina, who stopped seeing me altogether. I wasn't doing this for revenge. I was doing it so my kids would know their father didn't quit. Even when everyone thought he did. I started playing the part. If Tina thought I was pathetic, I'd let her think it. I stopped shaving as often. Wore the same hoodie 3 days in a row. Sat on the couch some nights, staring at the TV without really watching. She ate it up. Started getting more confident. More careless. One night, she was on the phone again, laughing with someone. I heard her say, "Honestly, maybe I should have married someone like Richard. At least he knows how to take care of a woman." Richard. Again. I didn't react. Just sipped my water and kept scrolling through my phone. But in my notes app, I wrote his name down. Then I wrote the name of his company, Garrison Energy Solutions. I already knew they were one of our competitors. They offered clunky, overpriced generators to the same market we were targeting. If she thought I was pathetic, she'd never see me coming. And neither would Richard. I smiled to myself. Then I went back to the garage. The licensing money started small. 5,000 here, 8,000 there. Royalties trickled in as units sold. Then it snowballed. By month 15 I was pulling in 30,000 a month. By month 16 it was 50. The tech firm wanted to scale production. They wanted exclusivity. They wanted more. I opened a new bank account. Kept everything off our joint finances. Tina never noticed. She stopped checking our statements months ago. I didn't buy anything flashy. No new car. No expensive dinners. I just saved. And planned. One afternoon I met with a financial advisor. We structured everything carefully, assets, accounts, legal protections. If things went south with Tina, I wanted to be ready. The advisor looked at my portfolio and whistled. "You're sitting on a gold mine, Mr. Sullivan?" I nodded. "I know. But nobody else does. And I want to keep it that way." He smiled. Smart man. I wasn't just smart. I was patient. And patience, I was learning, was the most dangerous weapon of all. She forgot our anniversary. 17 years. Just forgot. I spent the day finishing my second prototype. A smaller, more efficient model. Tina spent it at a networking event. She came home at 11:30, heels in her hand, lipstick smudged. She smelled like wine and something else. Something familiar. "Hey," she said, stumbling a little. "You still up?" "Yeah," I said. "Happy anniversary." She froze. Her face went pale. "Oh my God. Mark, It's fine," I said. I meant it. I didn't care anymore. She tried to hug me, but I stepped back. "I'm going to bed." I walked past her, and for the first time she looked scared. Like she realized she'd crossed a line she couldn't uncross. But it was too late. I wasn't angry. I was done. That night, I added Richard's name to the whiteboard in my garage. Right next to my timeline. Like a chess player marking his next move. 2 weeks later, Tina brought Richard home for dinner. "He wants to meet you," she said that morning. "He's been asking about you. I think he wants to help you network." I almost laughed. But I didn't. I just said, "Sure. Sounds great." Richard showed up in a Tesla. Expensive suit. Firm handshake. He looked at me like I was the help. "Mark, good to finally meet you," he said. "Tina's told me a lot about you." I smiled. "All good things, I hope." He laughed. Tina laughed. I laughed too. But inside I was taking notes. During dinner he talked about his company. How they were revolutionizing clean energy. How they were ahead of the curve. How they had the best engineers in the industry. I nodded along. Asked a few questions. Played dumb. After he left, Tina said, "See? He's such a great guy. Maybe he can help you find something." I smiled. Maybe. That night, I researched Garrison Energy Solutions. Found their weaknesses. Their outdated tech. Their overpriced models. And I started planning. My son stopped looking me in the eye. Jake was 13 and lately he'd started acting like Tina. Rolling his eyes when I spoke. Mumbling sarcastic comments under his breath. One Saturday I asked him if he wanted to shoot hoops. He didn't even look up from his phone. "I'm good," he said. "Come on just for a few minutes." "Dad," I said, "I'm good." Tina walked in smirking. "Jake's got better things to do than hang out in the driveway." He laughed. She laughed. I stood there holding the basketball. That hurt more than the layoff. More than Tina's coldness. More than anything. I put the ball down and walked back to the garage. Closed the door. Locked it. Then I sat on the stool and stared at the prototype. My hands were shaking. Not from anger. From pain. But I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just got back to work. Because one day Jake would understand. One day he'd see what I built. And maybe, just maybe, he'd be proud. The garage at home wasn't enough anymore. I needed space. Real space. I used part of the licensing money to rent a small industrial unit across town. Nothing fancy, just concrete floors, high ceilings, and privacy. I brought in 2 contractors I trusted. We set up a second workshop. Better tools. Better equipment. A real production line. Tina thought I was still tinkering in the garage. And I let her think that. The home garage became a decoy. I'd spend an hour there each night just to keep up appearances. But the real work? That happened at the unit. We were scaling production. Building 10 units a week. Then 20. Then 50. The tech firm loved it. They wanted more. They wanted faster. I hired 3 more people. All under NDAs. All paid well. All loyal. Tina never noticed I was gone for hours at a time. She was too busy with her own life. Her own plans. And I was fine with that. Because the less she knew, the better. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon. I was in the unit tightening a bolt when my phone buzzed. "Mr. Sullivan, this is David Chin from Horizon Energy Corporation. We'd like to discuss a potential buyout of your generator technology." I almost dropped the wrench. Horizon Energy Corporation. One of the biggest players in renewable tech. $1 billion contracts. Global reach. We set up a meeting. I didn't tell Tina. Didn't tell anyone. 3 days later, I sat in a glass conference room across from David and 2 other executives. They laid out the offer. $2.3 million upfront, plus equity in their new division. I didn't react. Just listened. Took notes. Then I negotiated. I wanted more equity. I wanted creative control. I wanted my name on the patents. They agreed. We shook hands. I signed the NDA. One call changed everything. They didn't just want a license, they wanted the whole thing. And I was ready to give it to them. For the right price. Tina found the NDA in the laundry. I'd left it in my jeans pocket by accident. She walked into the garage holding the paper. "What's this?" I glanced at it. "Just some boring paperwork. It says non-disclosure agreement." "For what?" I shrugged. "A consulting thing. Nothing major." She stared at me for a moment, then shrugged. "Okay. Whatever." She tossed it on the workbench and walked out. Didn't ask another question. That's how arrogant she'd become. She was so convinced I was useless that she didn't even bother to dig deeper. I picked up the NDA and locked it in the filing cabinet. Then I smiled. She had no idea. None. Emma told me over cereal one morning. Just casually, like it was nothing. "Mom says she might leave you." I stopped chewing. "What?" She stirred her spoon, not looking at me. "She said you'll be fine on your own since you like being alone anyway." My chest went tight. I put down my spoon. "When did she say that?" "Last night. When she was tucking me in." I didn't say anything. I just nodded. Told Emma to finish her breakfast. Then I went to the garage and closed the door. I didn't punch anything. Didn't yell. I just stood there breathing. Tina was planning an exit. She assumed she'd leave me with nothing. She thought I'd be the one begging. But she was wrong. So wrong. I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer. "We need to talk. Soon." The Clean Energy Innovation Conference was in downtown Seattle. I'd been invited to speak on a panel about emerging technologies. Tina didn't know I was speaking. She thought I was just tagging along to network. We sat in the back of the auditorium. She scrolled through her phone, barely paying attention. Then the moderator stepped to the mic. Our next speaker is a pioneer in modular energy solutions. Please welcome Mark Sullivan, founder of Sullivan Power Systems. The room erupted in applause. Tina's head snapped up. Her face went white. I stood up, buttoned my jacket, and walked down the aisle. I didn't look back. When I reached the stage, the applause grew louder. I saw colleagues I hadn't spoken to in years. Executives. Investors. People who mattered. I gave my speech. Talked about innovation. Persistence. Building something from nothing. When I finished, the crowd stood. A standing ovation. Tina sat frozen in her seat, staring at me like she'd seen a ghost. And I smiled. The footage went viral. Well, viral in our industry. LinkedIn exploded. My inbox flooded with messages. Tina's coworkers saw it. Her friends saw it. Her boss saw it. Suddenly, everyone knew who I was. And Tina couldn't hide from it. She tried to play it off. I always knew he'd figure it out, she told her friends. But the cracks showed. People started asking her questions she couldn't answer. How long has he been working on this? Why didn't you mention it before? She fumbled through responses, smiling too wide, laughing too loud. At home she was different. Quieter. Almost nervous. One night she asked, "Why didn't you tell me about the company?" I looked at her. Really looked at her. "You never asked." She opened her mouth, closed it, then walked away. I went back to my laptop. I had emails to answer. Deals to close. Tina planned a birthday dinner at Marcella's, an upscale Italian restaurant downtown. Girls' night. She didn't invite me. So I bought the place. Well, partial ownership. Enough to matter. I met with the owner 2 days before her dinner. We shook hands. Signed papers. I became a silent partner. On the night of her dinner, I showed up an hour early. Sat at the bar. Waited. Tina walked in with her friends, laughing loud. She didn't see me. Halfway through their meal, the chef came out. He walked straight to my table at the bar. "Mr. Sullivan, thank you again for your investment. We're honored to have you as a partner." He said it loud enough for the whole restaurant to hear. Tina turned. Her face drained of color. Her friends stared. I raised my glass, smiled, then walked out. I filed the divorce papers on a Wednesday. No yelling. No drama. Just a signature. My lawyer handed them to Tina at home. She read them in silence, her hands shaking. The kids were surprised. They thought I'd beg. Thought I'd try to fix things. Instead, I was calm. Focused. I offered generous custody terms. Fair division of assets. Well, the assets she knew about. Jake asked me why I was doing this. I told him the truth. Because I deserve better. Emma cried. I held her. Told her it wasn't her fault. That I'd always be her dad. Tina tried to argue. Tried to negotiate. But my lawyer shut her down every time. People admired my dignity. My strength. But I wasn't strong. I was just done. And being done felt like freedom. Tina wanted to talk. She called. Texted. Showed up at the unit. But I had no time. I was in meetings. Signing deals. Building an empire. "Mark, please. We need to talk about this." "I'm busy, Tina." "Busy? You're avoiding me." "No. I'm just not available anymore." She paused. I could hear her breathing on the other end. "When did you become like this?" I almost laughed. "I didn't become anything. I've always been this. You just stopped paying attention." I hung up. Blocked her number. Access to me was a privilege. And she'd lost it. Tina took the kids for a weekend. Tried to win them back. Took them shopping. Bought them things. When they came home, they were quiet. Different. Emma hugged me tight. "Dad, is it true you own a company?" I nodded. "Yes, sweetheart. I do." "Why didn't you tell us?" "Because I wanted to make sure it was real first." Jake looked at me differently now. Not with shame. With curiosity. Maybe even respect. Over the next few days they asked more questions. About the prototype. The patents. The conference. They were proud. I could see it in their eyes. And for the first time in months I felt like a father again. Tina lost her job 3 weeks later. Apparently word got around that she'd mocked me. And I was now partnered with Garrison Energy Solutions' biggest competitor. Her boss, Richard, distanced himself. Didn't want the association. She was quietly let go. Restructuring, they called it. She called me crying. I don't know what to do. I didn't gloat. Didn't rub it in. I just said, "You'll figure it out." Then I hung up. Karma's a quiet thing. It doesn't yell. It just shows up when you least expect it. One afternoon, Tina stopped by the house. The garage door was open. She stepped inside. And froze. She saw the machine. The blueprints. The photos on the wall. Me shaking hands with executives, standing on stages, signing contracts. She saw the articles. The press clippings. The deals worth millions. She saw everything. Everything she ignored. Everything she threw away. Her hands covered her mouth. Tears filled her eyes. I stood in the doorway watching. She turned to me. I didn't know. You didn't ask. She broke down, sobbing. But I didn't move. Didn't comfort her. Because this wasn't my burden anymore. It was hers. A few days later, Tina came to the unit. She knocked softly. I opened the door. She looked smaller. Tired. Is it too late? She asked. Her voice cracked. I didn't answer right away. I just looked at her. Really looked. Then I said, I'm not the man you married, Tina. I'm better. She cried. But I didn't waver. Jake and Emma were with me that day. They heard everything. Jake stepped forward. Dad's right, Mom. You were mean to him. Emma nodded. You said he was useless. But he's not. Tina looked at them. Then at me. Then she walked away. I closed the door. Took a deep breath. And smiled. I didn't need revenge. I needed peace. And now I have it. I signed the final deal with Horizon Energy last month. $4.7 million plus equity. Sullivan Power Systems is now a subsidiary of a global brand. Jake and Emma live with me part-time. Full custody is pending. They're happier now. So am I. Tina moved into an apartment across town. We don't talk much. Just logistics. Co-parenting. She's not the villain in my story anymore. She's just irrelevant. I drive past the old house sometimes. The one I built with my own hands. The one where I was called useless. But I don't feel anger. I feel gratitude. Because she taught me the most important lesson of all. Never let someone define your worth. Build so much they can't even comprehend what they lost. I park outside the new office building. My name is on the directory now. Mark Sullivan, founder and chief engineer. I step inside. The receptionist smiles. Good morning, Mr. Sullivan. I smile back. Good morning. And I get back to work.